I am live. Welcome, folks. This is Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I don't know if we live or not, but we're gonna go ahead on and record this show. Seems that though Facebook. Are you there, buddy? Can you talk?
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you good. I hear you good there. And let's see, because we're live already. If anybody out there that can see us live, hit us up and let us know, because we seem to be having some technical difficulties streaming.
I don't see it live, Dave.
Okay. That's horrible. And so we are live, but I don't think that nobody can see us for some reason.
Yep.
Nope, it's not working. Okay.
They got you figured out.
It ain't nothing to figure out. I do a show.
Well, you ain't doing the right show.
I ain't doing the show that they want me to do because we're okay. Let me check this out.
All praise to Mark Zuckerberg. See if that works.
Well, the thing of it is I can go live from my phone. Wow. Facebook going live from the phone, so it might be something. I don't know if it's something wrong with the StreamYard.
Yeah, you missed the setting, maybe?
I don't know if it's a setting. Okay. You still there?
Yep.
Okay. That ain't what we're talking about. No, Joe. Go, Joe. No, I don't think so. Okay. Wow, bastards.
They're watching.
Hey, y'all full of shit. You bastards, you stopped the show, but fuck you. I sure hope that wasn't live. My luck, it would be live.
Let me look. Oh, yeah, you were. No, you weren't.
Is it live yet?
No.
Yeah, they done did something to the StreamYard. I don't know what that.
I'm not finding you on YouTube either.
I ain't finding myself neither. No, man, these bastards. Okay, let's see. I wish I knew how to,
I found your David Lowry Jr.
That's me. But this shit ain't live.
No. I found your David Lowry Jr. Yep, it's live on YouTube.
It's live on YouTube.
Yep.
Is it now? Are we talking right now? I wonder why it's live, not live on Facebook. So we done made a couple of streams already, right? Live on Facebook.
Huh? You're playing on Facebook.
Am I? We made a couple of streams already, right? Live on Facebook.
Yeah.
Am I live on Facebook now? Okay. Let's so we've had some technical difficulties getting started, but let's get started and go since we got Facebook Live. I'm so glad Facebook y'all done came in because of the fact, and it's still not showing up
no, not
live
on
my phone, but it is live on Facebook, correct?
No.
It's not?
YouTube is, but not Facebook.
YouTube is live.
Yep.
Okay, so we got one looking at it.
Yep.
Okay, let's let's go on with the show. We're gonna go on with the show, okay? So
Yep.
whoever's looking at it on YouTube, we'll probably have to load it up on Facebook. But it's ridiculous that the game continues to play. You see it on YouTube still?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let us get started on the show. We're gonna go on. Thank you, YouTube, for putting the show out there. It seems to be that we have a problem with the Facebook launch, and that's good too. So let's get this ball rolling. We can get this to going, and let's go on and do this thing and do the show, and then we'll share it off of we'll share it off.
Universal and coming from the windy
y'all
city of
sharing
Chicago,
it on YouTube.
Illinois.
Y'all check it out.
Now
I'm
it's
on
time to
YouTube,
let
but
the truth
it should be shown on Facebook. If it's not, we are live, and we're gonna go get it in. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, David L. Lowry Jr., and the show is Let the Truth Be Told. Let the Truth Be Told. Good afternoon, Vietnam. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. I don't know what's going on with our Facebook page, but if you go to my David L. Lowry Jr. page, is that right, Steve?
Yep.
David L. Lowry Jr. on YouTube, you'll be able to catch the show. But we're going to run this. We're going to go ahead on and do the show for those so we can get it in and we can load it up on YouTube. So let's get started. First, I want to give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Yahshua, which is Jesus Christ. If you don't know, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in on the new YouTube page and Facebook if it's showing, whatever. But we got a great show tonight, man, and I'm feeling some kind of way. The American people should be feeling some kind of way because, you know, we have been through a lot of stuff the last couple of years, and this whole thing with the shutdowns, the restrictions, and all of that, it has really hurt the American people, and it has really hurt the American economy. And so all the mandates, all the restrictions that's been lifted now, we just had the State of the Union speech by the so-called president, Joe Biden, and he basically tried to rally the troops, but we know that it was all a bunch of lies that he had told in order to try to get the American people back in. And it just, I don't think it's working. But in the interim, all of the sudden, and this is why I'm saying the American people should be fueled and they should be upset, is because now all of a sudden we have this so-called war against Russia. The Ukraine has disrespected Russia, and I feel sorry for the Ukraine people, but at the same time, we are economically suffering here in the United States. You know, gas is over $5 a gallon. There's lack foods on the shelf. And I mean, our country is just literally suffering. And yet, this Biden administration hasn't cared about the American people. What they have done is that they've created a wall around the Ukraine with military weapons as well as humanitarian aid, but to the tune of about $13.6 billion. That was Wednesday, they got that amount. And so this President Zelensky is supposed to speak to Congress today, and Congress enacted them another $1 billion. And this is for weapons and so forth, for them to fight against Russia. And the American people over here can't even get a stimulus check to take care of ourselves. Our economy has been down the tanks, and it has totally, totally destroyed this country. And yet we have a president that continues to look for ways not to be responsible for his actions against the United States and the United States citizens. So that's what this show is about. The American people should be real hot because this, you know, the Biden administration have awarded, and I want to say have awarded the Ukraine people $1.5 trillion. And that went up from 13.6 billion to 1.5 trillion. And as that happened, I wondered why it went up. But see, what the politicians in the United States government does is this. they will look for ways to get money from different studies, and they would add that to a bill like this aid to the Ukraine, so that they could pay themselves on the back end with other little things and little studies that they like to do in order to keep robbing the American people and fleecing their pockets. And so with this bill, we can already know that if it went from 113.6 billion to 1.5 trillion, there had to be some stuff that was added to this bill. And that's what I want to do right now. I want to read, and this is from the Time magazine. I want to read exactly what is in this bill and the things that surround it, because the American people don't even realize that the amount of money that's not going to the Ukraine. There will be a ton of money that will not go to the Ukraine, but it will go directly back, circumvented back to the American politician's pocket. And so in this 1.5 trillion dollar bill to Ukraine, I want to read it off for you so you can understand. This is from Time magazine. It says Congress passed a 1.5 trillion spending package Thursday that sends further military and humanitarian assistance to Ukraine and funds the federal government through the end of September. See, this is what I'm talking about. It says funds the federal government through the end of September. The federal government hasn't even passed an infrastructure bill, but so that they're funding themselves in this bill to keep the shenanigans going on, and that all of this money is going to the Ukraine. I feel sorry for the Ukraine, but all of this money is not going to go to the Ukraine, but it's going to come back to the American politician's pocket. It said the spending bill increased the funding for the military and nearly every non-defense agency, with federal domestic spending set to reach $715 billion and defense spending $782 billion for the remainder of the fiscal year. So in other words, what they're doing is saying, okay, we're going to send Ukraine a little bit of money and some weapons, but the rest of that money is coming back to us. And then we're going to use that money to put in our pockets and say, we needed this money to run this program for the end of the year. But see, that is not true, because I want to read down further, and I'm going a little further into this, because it said when they put the bill to Congress, it said the bill was temporarily stalled in the House after multiple Democrats refused to allow Congress to offset $15.6 billion in new COVID aid with previously approved but unspent relief funds. To get the bill over the finish line, Democratic House leaders removed the COVID-19 aid provisions, which sought to replenish the federal health programs that provide tests, treatments, and vaccinations, and now instead hope to pass a separate bill on COVID-19 relief funding next week. So from this, what it's saying here is that in this bill, it didn't get passed because of the fact that the government wanted to put more funding in, I think about $61 billion, back into the federal government for COVID-19 testing and all of the rest of that stuff. See, but COVID is over. It has been over. And see how the politicians continue to use situations like funding the Ukraine to turn around and now under the table get the money to put more money in COVID when COVID is all over. Steve, you want to talk about that?
Well, it's take money out of one pocket, put it into another. And you wonder why our taxes keep going up and up and up. Now, this is the shenanigans that goes on in the federal government, and it's been going on for many decades. And if the states don't step up and start complaining, filing suits against all this stuff, it's just going to get bigger and it's going to get worse. But here's the deal: the states are getting money back out of that too.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
So the state can fail. The state can do wrong and still get rewarded for it, so they can put the money in their pockets and take care of their business and just say to hell with the people in the state. And that's what they're doing. They're funding them. They're funding their incompetence.
Exactly. And go ahead.
And what that does is it doesn't make the state do their job. They don't have to do their job. They don't have to create jobs and bring in revenue through jobs and sales and making products and stuff. It's all coming in from the federal government. And they're making their deals overseas and then bringing it back over here somehow to divvy it up and then create more grants and bailout programs and all that.
Well, Steve, you're so correct, because I have to say this. If we have already did the CARE Act for the funding for the corona, we did the CARE Act. That was done before the corona even hit us. And all the money that was put into the CARE Act, why would we now have to backdoor the American people and put money into a humanitarian aid to the Ukraine? And see, that's what the American people don't know, that the government is always looking for situations in order to be able to continue to get into the pockets of the American citizen. And this is another case too, where it's just that it's so blatant that, you went from 13 billion to 1.5 trillion dollars, and all that money is definitely not going to go to the Ukraine. And another thing too that we have to be wary of as citizens, we have to be wary that as we continue to send military aid, we're sending, rocket launchers, we're sending all this high-tech equipment, to knock missiles out the sky. We're sending all this in military aid to the Ukraine. But at the same time, our economy done tanked out. It's just pretty much tanked out. The American people are suffering. They keep talking about a lot of jobs, but a lot of people got fired from their jobs from not being vaccinated. The Biden administration really separated the people in this country, and they've continued to use these type of this rhetoric, this type of attitude, to be able to stop and give our money out, taxpayer dollars out, to foreign countries and to refugees. 782 billion of those dollars are going to replace the refugees that leave the Ukraine. Now, they haven't even put that kind of money into the American citizens who lost all their businesses due to COVID. So I don't get it, and I think this is something that the American citizens should be up in arms against, that we're continuing to suffer over here, and yet they keep sending money to different countries. They did Afghanistan under COVID. Now all of a sudden the Ukraine getting all this money. And it's just a shame that the American people continue to suffer with a bad economy, high wages, inflation is out of control. And yet this president keeps sending money to other countries, and they keep putting money into these bills that they pass so that money can be circumvented back to them and continue to make an ass out of the American people, Steve.
Well, stop and think. Who causes the problems in this country? Who causes debt? Who causes the recessions? Who causes the depressions? Who closed down these businesses and put them out? These businesses, I think it was over 11,000 businesses in Illinois closed and then never opened back up. Who did all this?
JB Pixter.
Right. Our government did this, and
yes,
now they want to pass a bill to fix it. How come the American people can't figure this out? The government creates all our problems for us because they're overreaching their power.
Yes.
And then they turn around and say, oh, okay, well, we're going to create another bill and we're going to help fix this problem. If you had stayed out of it to start with, we wouldn't have the problem
in the first place.
Yeah. So until American people start figuring out who the problem is, we ain't going to fix nothing. It's something else is going to happen tomorrow and then next week and next month and next year. They got this all planned out. This gas price stuff is going up.
Man, it's going up.
And they want it to go up so you can look at electric cars.
And it's like, I don't understand this, but when did the government get authority to force us to do what they want us to do?
They don't. The state are failing to stand up and
Mhm.
tell the federal government, no, you don't have this authority. They're complicit with it because states like Illinois and New York and California and others are waiting for that almighty dollar to come in the form of a grant.
And they're failing states. These states have failed the citizens of each state. And
Yeah.
it's sad to say that it's the Democratic states that are all falling apart and chasing the money instead of trying to keep this restrictions. They want them. It's just totally ridiculous, Steve, of what's happening to the American people now. But we're allowing to happen because we let them govern us by consent. The fact of the matter is this. Okay, so we're done with the restrictions and COVID is over. All the lawsuits have been filed. They forced them to come down off that mountain and remove the restrictions. I think the Senate just passed the bill and rescinded the CDC's mask enforcement on public transportation and all of that. And so that's what needed to happen. And during this whole 2 year time, the courts were closed. And so that allowed this continuation of what happened to us. I'm trying to be careful because on YouTube they get paid, by the enemy. But at the same time, the American people have just pretty much just sit back and said, okay, well, let's do this, and we're just going to have faith in the government to know that they're going to treat us right. But we can already see that that's not going to happen because of the fact that as we continue to try to recover from this whole pandemic, now the American people are being faced with a war that's not ours. And the government is taking our tax dollars, which we could take to rebuild our country with, because our bridges, our infrastructure is falling apart. There's the school system is falling apart. I mean, everything in this country needs attention, especially financial attention, that we're not getting, but yet we're sending $1.5 trillion over to the Ukraine, which none of that money, probably any of that money, is going to get to the people that need that money. That money is going to be circumvented, like we said before. It's going to be brought back through the United States through different studies, through different types of things that the politicians have set up to have that money put back into their bank accounts and act as if this money really went to the Ukraine and it really made a difference for the people. But that's a big lie, Steve.
Well, has everybody forgotten about the Biden Ukraine deal, the quid pro quo Joe? That was all about money.
Yes.
And where did that money come back to? His son and
Yes, he
him.
did.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, they're going to send money over there. Where's that going to go then? Is it coming back over to the crackhead kid of his and back into Biden's bank account too?
And you right, you so right when you said that, because I got a clip I want to play that's been on YouTube. And the reason why I want to play this clip, I want the American people to know that during the running for election, excuse me, there was a lot of talk about Joe Biden's son, who was acting as um, a consultant to the Ukraine. And really, what was said that he was doing was getting money and practicing homosexuality and doing a lot of drug usage over there. And this is supposed to have been in his laptop. But as time went on, this was exposed. As time went on, the American people they lost their train of thought because they threw so much crap on the wall against Trump that it got lost in the mix. But now all of a sudden, Jordan came out and he's trying to make new laws. See, he want to make a new civil rights law to cover his son for what he did, so that if something happens, the law will be on his side. But I want to play this clip to the American people and let them hear Joe talk about creating a new civil rights law for gays.
So we established a new civil rights cause of action for those whose intimate images were shared on the public screen. How many times have you heard? I bet everybody knows somebody somewhere along the line that in an intimate relationship, what happened was the guy takes a revealing picture of his naked friend or whatever compromising position, and then literally, in a sense, blackmails or mortifies that person. Sends it out, put it online. So we established a new civil rights cause of action for those whose intimate images were shared on the public screen. How many times have you heard? I bet everybody knows somebody somewhere along the line that in an intimate relationship, what happened was the guy takes a revealing
He done
picture
said it twice.
of his naked friend,
He's
whatever,
sick.
in a compromising position, and then literally, in a sense, blackmails or mortifies that person. Sends it out, put it online.
Okay, that's enough for Joe. And folks, the reason why Joe is trying to create this new civil rights bill is because his son done got caught up with compromising pictures, and that's about to come out. So he's trying to create a bill to block that from coming out, saying it's a civil rights violation when it's not. He just got caught with his pants down, and the father is trying to protect the son for some stuff illegal that he did. Steve, thanks for sending that.
Yep. He literally got caught with his pants down. Yeah. You know, and if people can't listen to that and distinguish to themselves what the Democratic Party is truly about and not get away from that kind of corruption and immoral actions, then they can only blame themselves when it gets worse.
And you're so right. And that's one of the things that we've been talking about on this show is the fact that we want to be able to educate people. We want people to be able to do research for themselves. And to my client, my crew, my listeners, somehow we are streaming live on YouTube. I don't know, but it's not streaming live on Facebook. So, but that's okay. We'll fix that. But we'll put this tape out on Facebook so everybody can see it. But all the people in America right now should be upset because we've been lied to for the last couple of years. This president lied so much during the State of the Union. He lied when he was getting into office. He hasn't stopped lying yet. But what the Democratic Party has been doing, the liberals have been doing, is that they know that a lot of this stuff is coming out. A lot of them is going to lose. I'm telling people to go to the polls and research. And if all of these people that we have had all these problems with under the Democratic leadership, it is time that we vote them out of office. We need to get them out. We need to find other candidates to replace them because what they did in the last 2 years have been crimes committed against the American people and against humanity. And so now we have an opportunity to get ourselves back in a situation, not to stay the course of where we're at, but to be able to get things back to a normal that we used to be, when we could go to places without a vaccination card, when there wasn't no mask required to do this. You know, all of these restrictions and these new rules that was led by the Democratic Party and some of the Republicans that have just destroyed the American way of life, of us being able to freedom of speech and choice and all of the things that the Constitution provides for us have been taken away with the word emergency, and these Democratic-run states have just ran the American people into the ground. And so we continue to suffer as we look at other countries get the American dollars to rebuild their countries, and yet we got homeless people over here sleeping on the ground. You know, the economy's bad, and it's just a sad situation in America right now. And we cannot literally afford to be able to continue to fix everybody else's problems. You know, nobody is sending money to this country to help the homeless over here. Nobody is sending the money to this country to stop some of the atrocities that have happened to the Black community. None of these other countries have intervened with anything that America has done to the citizens. But yet, one bomb falls somewhere else, and here we come with an open wallet, and we come running to fund everybody. We come running to take care of everybody. So my question is, when is this government going to take care of its own people? When is this government going to take the money that they could have took this $1.5 trillion and invested into the United States and created more economics, rebuild the roads. They could have did everything with this $1.5 trillion that they're going to supposedly send to the Ukraine. But most of that money is going to be coming back in different studies that a lot of the politicians have their hands in the pocket of the people that will be conducting the studies. And so we should be up in arms. The American people should be saying, no, we don't want to keep bailing everybody else when we're over here suffering. And there's the government, our own government, is not trying to bail us out or help us. They're study trying to take our constitutional rights. They're study trying to break our pockets, and they're trying to break the American pride and the American spirit of their citizens to control them and move this country to a new world order. Steve, what you think?
Well, let's talk about some studies that's going to cost the American people. How about Ugandan gambling habits? Ugandan people's gambling habits, that's 30,000. How about the cocaine and risk sex habits of a quail?
Wait a minute. Let me hold up. Now I want the people to hear me. There's a study to find out if the Japanese quail gets what? Does it get happy? Does it supposed to get that does cocaine? They
want to do a study to make sure to see if the cocaine will affect the quail to have more sex or less sex. That's their study. How about remember when the astronauts landed on the moon?
I remember that. Yep.
And the astronaut, was it Armstrong or whoever, said
it was Neil Armstrong that talked about this as one step for mankind, whatever, yeah. Right?
A study for that, $700,000 to figure out if he said one step for mankind or one step for a man. And
$700,000.
They did this study and came to the conclusion we don't know what he said.
And so that was just free money. That was taxpayer money.
Taxpayer money.
That's taxpayer, and this is all done under the umbrella of science. Is that correct?
Yeah. How about the Panamanian frog mating? $466,000.
To figure out why the frog is mating?
Yes. This is the problem. We've got a government up here just handing our money out left and right, raising our taxes, losing our jobs, shutting our businesses down, controlling everything about us, what we do. And then they want all this study money for nothing. Who cares about the frog?
And who cares about a Japanese quail, whether it wants more sex or not, once it get high on cocaine?
Was he related to Hunter Biden or what? Come on. Here's the right there. We're sending money overseas to rehabilitate their animals or to rehabilitate and build their cities and stuff, while ours are crumbling. While we keep paying for the world's problems, ours are getting bigger. Remember, I want everybody to understand something here. All these trade deals that they're making, what happens when we have an embargo? All them container ships sitting off the coast contain all our products that we have shipped out instead of making. So if they decide to do an embargo,
we're stuck.
We're done. We don't have nothing. That's why the grocery stores, that's why we don't have toilet paper. That's why we don't have food on the shelves. This is because all this stuff's being sent out and being made in another country. And then when they do an embargo or have another war, our gas prices are going to go up. Our shelves are going to become bare because we are not self-dependent no more.
Exactly. And you know, that's the whole thing that seems to be. And again, it's just so sad that we are going through this. I mean, it's sad that what we went through the last going on 3 years, and now here we are still suffering, still trying to get back. People are still jobless. People owe rent money. I mean, the whole 9 yards of what could be bad for a country to lead to its destruction is happening in the United States. And we cannot continue to allow the elected officials who are in office now, they have been a big part of this economy being in this condition. And so we as the people now need to hold them accountable. It's just ironic that COVID would be at the lowest numbers when they said that it would be. You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't like, because there is no way that we could determine when COVID would end. Okay, so we don't even know what the real deal is. But Joe Biden came out at his State of the Union speech, and just like he waved the magic wand and said, okay, COVID is over, so now we can go back to normal. But they have psychologically damaged the American people so bad with this whole thing that a lot of people are still just walking around with masks on, even though that the mask has been lifted. They're still walking around out of fear. They're still scared to go into places. I mean, the psychological damage that was done to the American people has been astronomical. Steve, what you think?
Let me give you an example here. Our problems are arising because we don't want to do our research. We don't want to learn how this government's supposed to run. Imagine this. Frederick Douglass, okay, he was taught by a man named William Lloyd Garrison. And Garrison told him that the Constitution was a pro-slavery document. And that's what Frederick Douglass believed until he went and read it. He went through the whole Constitution. He came to the conclusion, no, this is not pro-slavery. This is probably the most perfect document written as long as you go by it the way it reads. So if the people took the time, and the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and Bill of Rights, those are not long documents to read. But if people started learning and educating themselves just like Frederick Douglass did, then we would have government under control. We would know that they shouldn't be doing something because the Constitution was created to restrict what the government's powers are.
And so that's the whole thing. And that's another thing too. This is how I say that the education system has failed. We've allowed for it to fail our children because we didn't hold their feet to the fire and make things stay the way that they were. Like when we came along, we learned about American history. We had Black history at Tilden Tech from 70 to 74. And so we knew we had an opportunity to find out about who we were. And we had to fight for those things, but we still understood what we needed to do, and we did that. And now that you've taken all the important things out, because see, everybody is not college material, Steve. You know that, right?
I'm not.
Everybody not going to go to college and get a degree. When we came along, there was all sorts of opportunity through the trade unions, being a welder, auto mechanics, all of these things were done. Okay. And so that allowed us to come out into the world and be effective. We could go out and get a job. We could make enough money to take care of our families with industrial jobs. I mean, a lot of us were able to feed families, buy homes, and send our kids to college off of those industrial jobs. And so once they took that training out of the high schools, that pretty much shot the average Joe guy that said, the college is not for me, but I want to get a job. And so without any type of trade job, they come out and they get a minimum wage job, and that's definitely not going to take care of your family. And so what they have done is that they've dummied down each generation. You take out the best curriculums out of the high school, you make it a social program, and you don't care if the kids can read or write. You just want to make sure they're socially adapt. They can come to school in $400 gym shoes, $200 jeans, and don't learn a damn thing. They're just sitting up in the classrooms, all cute and everything, and can't spell, cat. And so that has been part of the mission of the liberals, is to make sure that the children learn how to follow orders instead of be free thinkers and think about things that they can do other than what they're told. Steve?
No, education and knowledge is not the same thing.
Exactly.
Knowledge comes from what you put in and what you want to get out of it. Why do people think they've got to go to college? Because somebody told them.
Yeah.
You don't need college to teach you anything, because I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, these colleges have no clue on what they're teaching. They've let these professors get in there and teach kids, these college kids, what they believe in. It don't necessarily mean it's true. They're creating their own ideals and putting them in these kids' head. So knowledge and education, you can go get educated, but your knowledge comes from what you want to put into it.
Well, there is a such thing called an educated fool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you have a lot of book sense, but you have no common sense. And see, you touched on something that in my community, in the Black community, is a sore spot for the Black community, is because it's called that's a division. A house divided can't stand. And so you're talking about college people and our college children that went to college. I got kids, all of them went to college, but they maintain the identity of who they are. And that's the key. We send our kids off to college, and they were taught not to come back home and to support the Black community. That's true. I'm talking about the so-called elite college people who belong to the fraternities and the sororities. They have continued to snub the Black community. The same people who opened doors for them, the same people who fought the dogs and the hoses, the same people who died with marches and so forth, who fought for these children to go to college and get a college education. And when they got to college, they abandoned the Black community because they were told not to come back home. They was told, don't, just get out the ghetto and just go. Don't never come back. And at the same time, the government turned and backdoored us, created different programs, and allowed other nationalities to come into the Black community, buy the businesses up. Because if you want to talk about the truth, let's talk about the truth. Buy the businesses up, own the stores, own the hotels, own the service stations, own the wig shops, own all sorts of nail shops. Everybody makes money by being in the Black community except Black people. And so that group of people who abandoned the Black community, who wanted to be the elite, have only become educated fools. Because all other educated college graduates who go back home, who are white, who are Chinese, who are Mexican, they go back home to their communities and they take economic wealth, they take what they've learned and they invest it into the community to make it better. But that doesn't happen in the Black community because everybody's so materialistic. Everybody want to have the money. Everybody want to have this, yet all of us are suffering. And so until the Black community, the different fractions in the Black community start coming together, then our communities always are going to suffer. You're going to always see Abib down at the corner store at the gas station and the store stinking like hell with old products. You're going to continue to see all the wig shops and all the nail shops that's in the Black community are mostly owned by people that are not from the community. And that's because our brightest and our biggest and our best people who are educated won't come back home, but would always want to come home to show off what they got, to get a hand clap, what they did, and they haven't done anything for nobody but themselves. And so the Black community is suffering from the separation of our children who went off to college and called themselves Greeks and no longer want to be Black. Steve?
Well, here's one thing. The black community has been taught for decades to hate the white man. That's not a given. That's fact.
That's a fact. And
But I
the white man has been taught to hate the black man too.
okay, yeah, I agree. But if the black community doesn't trust the white man, okay, and his ideals, what if the black community had a choice of two professors to teach them? One was Thomas Sewell and another was Barack Obama. Thomas Sewell will teach you how to be successful, how to get ahead in the world and make something of yourself. Barack Obama will sit there and tell you you got to live off government. Which education would the black community rather have? That would be my question.
And the question that you would, but see, and this is why I said people don't know. That question will be answered by not Barack Obama, but by Mr. Sewell, because he is going to present situations that's going to fit the black community, opposed to just saying, okay, well, y'all just go on and just stay where you're at. Don't try to advance. All we want you to do is stay there. We're going to keep giving you government handouts so that you can continue to be subservient. We want to keep you in a place. And see, and that's what people don't understand, is that there's institutional racism fixed in the government, especially when it comes to people of color, especially black people. You know, with the welfare system, you can't have nothing. You can't have a husband. You can't buy a house. You have to be totally broke in order to be on the system. And that system is being used, and it's a good system. But for black people, it has been made to be a lifeline. It has been made to be how I can live. And so that mindset of staying in that situation and getting a little government money, and you be rich every once a month where you're able to go to the store and get stuff. So, I mean, that is fixed in race system, institutionalized. And so black people have to really understand that we're our own worst enemy, because we refuse to stop buying from everybody else. And we refuse to organize ourselves and become one and have purchasing power, just like every other neighborhood does, like the whites do. They band together, they put their money together, they go out abroad, they buy products, they work with each other's stores, they have patronized each other's stores. But only in the black community you don't see that. And that's the most scary part for me, is because as a man of God and a new pastor, I just don't see how we could continue to be blind like this, because the real problem for this country is we don't have God first anymore. We don't have him first. And in God, we don't trust. It used to be in God we trust, but now it's in God we don't trust. We've pushed God out of the country, and we've made ourselves available to the new Sodom and Gomorrah in the New World Order. And they continue to move forward. They're not going to stop. You know what, Steve? I want to start some trouble right now. This is All Out Wednesday, and we are on YouTube, and I will share it to Facebook after this.
I'm white. Don't blame me. He started it.
I'm finna start something right now. I want the listeners to really think about what I'm finna say right now. This is profound, but I want to know, where is Black Lives Matter? See, ain't nobody asking about Black Lives Matter. Took George Floyd and they tore the country up. They burnt buildings down. They was chanting defund the police. They did everything. Black Lives Matter for 2 years owned this country. For 2 years, burning. They took in well over $3 or $4 billion. Black Lives Matter did. Took in all of that money. And I'm asking black people who wore their shirts, who bought their hats, who bought into the foolishness, because the name that said Black Lives Matter did not mean real black people, but gay and queer black people. That's what it meant. And so now we don't see Black Lives Matter anywhere, especially after the IRS asked them to prove what they did with the money. And so Black Lives Matter is under suspect by the IRS. They just disappeared off the face of the earth right now. You can't even find them. They done took down all their branches and everything, except for the ones who are making money separately, making their own money, but they're going to be held accountable. So to my message to Black people, you see how easily that we can be tricked out of money. You see how easily that we can be tricked out of our character by a slogan like Black Lives Matter. People are still dying in the streets. Police is still killing people. And here in Chicago, this thing, I don't know what the hell this thing in the office here in Chicago is. You know, what kind of mayor? And I got to ask the people in Chicago, what kind of mayor, what kind of integrity, what type of character do you have to be a homosexual mayor and take down the statues of Columbus and put up statues of gay people and then get caught on tape when asked about putting the Columbus statues up? It's a total disrespect to the Italian community. It's a total disrespect. And I know some Italian people, and they ain't too happy with this. But for the Chicago mayor, the Leviticus 2013, whatever that is that's in the office, whatever it calls itself, for that thing to say that she got the biggest dick in Chicago? What caliber? The mayor of Chicago tell the Italian people, I'm not gonna put your statues up because I got the biggest dick in Chicago. What you think about that, bro?
Well, did you know that Dexter and Beetlejuice in the Irish St. Patrick's Day parade were pelted with candy and other objects, and had to be literally taken off the street, put in and put in squad cars or whatever to protect them?
You saw the break. What happened now?
When they did their Pigster and Beetlejuice did their St. Patrick's Day parade,
Right.
they were pelted with candy and other objects, as it was said, heckled, booed, F-used, and had to be taken off the streets and protected by the police. You didn't hear about it.
So, folks, if you didn't hear what my partner said, it said that Leviticus 2013, that thing that's in Chicago called the mayor, and J.B. Pixter, the supposed governor, was at the Irish Day parade, and they was pelted with candy?
Candy or other objects.
You mean they said they was throwing at them?
Yeah, apparently they were throwing candy or something into the crowd, and the crowd was throwing it back and booing. And you know, I've got a short video I'll share with you that somebody took of it.
Yeah, man, because you know that's the sentiment, and I want to tell the people here in the state of Illinois, I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of the people in the state of Illinois that we're gonna get rid of J.B. Pritzker. He got to go. He is part of this pandemic. He has cost us all this pain, and he ain't give the damn about the people in the United States. And but to the people of Chicago, you got to suffer a couple of more years with that thing in office, study trying to implement new laws. And the sad thing of it is, COVID is all over, but yet they're still trying to push the vaccination. What's up with that, Steve?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how it works up there in Chicago, but why do they have to put up with her? Why don't they recall her?
That's a good idea.
You know, I mean, you know, the police and everybody, fire department, police, and everybody are trying to be forced to have to take a vaccination and so on.
But
so
it's
I mean,
over with.
No, that's what's being fought right now. Tom DeVore is representing the police and fire department stuff up there because they're still pushing it. So if the people are really tired of it, recall her, get rid of it.
And to the American people, if the numbers are so low and all the restrictions have been removed, The companies should not be taking it on themselves to demand that you get vaccinated.
Exactly.
They shouldn't. And if they do, I can guarantee you, if a vaccinated person, if a company forces a person to get vaccinated and they die from that, the company can be sued. The company can be sued. I want the American people to know that. So if you work for a company that forces a vaccination, that person dies, you can't sue Moderna or Pfizer because they was given immunity in the last bill, the stimulus package, so they couldn't be sued no matter how many people are killed by these experimental drugs, they still cannot be sued. But if a company enforces it on you and your loved one dies, you can sue the company for a certain amount of dollars. So, there are things now that we don't know, but we're going to try to keep the American people informed on what's going on, because we need to know these things so that we can deal with them appropriately as they happen to us, because we need some type of recourse and we need some type of relief than what we already have, because it has been totally ridiculous that we've sent all this money over to Ukraine for $1.5 trillion. None of that money is going to go to the Ukrainian people. The only thing that's going to go to the Ukrainian people are more missiles, more military equipment, and more special ops people. See, let me tell the American people what's happening over in Ukraine. There are American forces already fighting in the Ukraine. These are called special ops groups. These groups are not soldiers, but they're contracted to the Defense Department to do what's happening now. And so we do have military people on the ground over there in this fight with the Ukraine. So don't think that America is just sending the money and the military equipment, because most of the people in Ukraine do not know how to operate the American equipment. And so in order for them to know how to operate it, they're sending American instructors and American soldiers over there to teach them how to operate. At the same time, they're taking part in the war. So we have to be careful. The American people have to be careful on what this government is doing, because and I'm not mad at Russia. I'm not mad at Russia at all, because that's their country. That's part of them. Let them fight their own battles. We in the United States need to fight our own battles. We need to fix this country ourselves. We ain't got ourselves. We have no business in everybody else's business. We shouldn't be in the Ukraine putting $1.5 trillion. What the hell are we going to get back from that? We're not going to get nothing from that. We're not going to get a dime from it back. And all that money going over there, and we got people sleeping on the streets here in the United States. The cold winter, we had homeless people sleeping under the viaducts in homemade houses with cardboard. We could have took $1 billion and eradicated homelessness across this country. But yet and still, the American people and the taxpayer dollars are going everywhere else and not being at home to fix the United States like it should. So the American people need to be up in arms about this. But this is what we can do. This is exactly what we can do. It's the midterms elections. And I have to be honest. And I'm gonna tell you right now who I'm voting for. And I damn sure ain't voting for damn Democrat. I gotta be honest as an independent. I've been in the trenches in this show. I've actually seen exactly what has happened, what has transpired, the lies that was told to get into office. And when they got into office, they turned the country upside down. They turned this whole country upside down. And the American people should be mad as hell about what has happened. And so I can tell you now, I'm not going to vote for one damn Democrat at all. And black people, none of us should be voting Democratic, because our whole lives, we have been conservative. We believe in God. We work hard. We believe the government should not be in our business. We believe in the Constitution. All of these things that black people, how I grew up, all of these things, how I grew up, are conservatism. Marriage between a man and a woman, all that's conservatism. But they got black people thinking that that's if you believe in that, you're a Republican. But wait a minute. I know a lot of black folks who grew up like that, like I did. My parents was like that, so they would be considered conservative. So this country continued to separate us by words. And to the black people, when they call you a conservative because you love the country and you love your kids, you don't want the government, all of the things, look up the word conservative. That's what I'm telling black folks. Take a few minutes and look up the word conservative. And when you do, you look up liberal as well. And folks do this. And look at both words, look at what they mean, and then decide which one of those words, conservative or liberal, are you or how you was raised. And I think that'll make a difference in your psyche, because when I saw that a long time ago, I said, I can't be a Democrat. I can't believe in homosexuality. I can't believe in the government taking over my business. I can't believe in a government that lie, cheat, and steal and continue to wage war against the American people. I just cannot believe in a liberal way of thinking. I don't want homosexuals in the school teaching my kids like we got right now. I don't want to be sending my money to the wars over there for other people's problems, and we got problems right here. That don't make sense. And if black people, you don't take the time out, if you don't take the time out to research these candidates and take a look at exactly what happened, if we let these fools get back into the office, I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans, who all was part of this shenanigan to destroy the economy to the American people. If we let these fools get back into office, then we are the fool. We the fools. Because they're going to get back in office. They're going to finish destroying this country. They're going to finish teaching our children about an unnatural lifestyle. They're going to keep pushing drugs. They're going to keep doing all the same stuff they've been doing to get us in a position to be locked down and black people running to the polls voting for them, and we never get nothing. This is the end of the show, bro. Go on and give me your minute so we can get up out of here.
Okay. Black, white, Latino, Asian, look at where you're at right now. If you're happy with it, okay. But think, do I want to be here, or where do I want to be in the future? When you go out and vote, remember that.
That you?
That's me.
You were short and sweet. I'm going to get out. Hey, man, look, thanks for coming on the show. You're the best host I know, man. We get it in. It's about the American people. And I want to thank you for being a host of this show. And we're just going to keep it up. We want the American people to see there's no problem between black folks and white folks. We got to get together and deal with this government before they take us all out. Bruh, I'll see you next week, okay?
Yes, sir.
Have a good weekend. Well, folks, the old clock on the wall says time to go. I want to apologize to my Facebook listeners because of the fact that we streamed on YouTube and somehow we didn't pick it up. So, but anyway, that's cool too. I'll share it out to my Facebook listeners from the YouTube page. These are my last words. Before my last words, I want to thank Living and Driving While Black Foundation for what they do. I want to thank Two Diamond CBDs. But I also want to say, and I want to invite people out to my new church. As the co-pastor of Fernwood, we've been shut down because the church has asbestos and it needs to be repaired. We have sought to get a building so we can have our services, and that's going to be at 163 156th Street in Harvey, Illinois. That's at the Universal Temple Church, Universal Church, where we will be hosting our services. April the 3rd, I'm inviting people to come out and to come out at noon at 163 156th Street. We'll continue to put out, save the dates, and because that will be the first day that I will be being introduced to the community as a pastor, and I will preach my first sermon at Universal under the True House Under God. That's the name of our new church, True House Under God. I'm also a co-pastor to Fernwood. We're all working together to build the Black community back with our farmers, Black farmers coming in. There's a lot of economic stuff that we're planning to do with this church. And this church is going to be ran the way Jesus would run his church. This church is not going to be a compromised church. We're not going to be dealing with the politics. We're not going to be tithing and asking people for their W-2s. We're not going to be begging for stuff that we don't need, but we are going to be in the community, helping people, making sure the people in the community got the things that they need. We will be providing all sorts of job opportunities. I already have a job program set up. If you want to contact us at 708-663-5262, we have a program starting in May. We're looking for people to come in, learn about resume writing, get their resume skills up, and all of that. We have job developers, myself, who will work with people to get different jobs in the industry, like trucking and clerical, and you name it. We have all sorts of job opportunities for our people in this program. So I'm asking folks to call us. If you have a kid or a young person that are not on disability or not on unemployment, they can qualify for the program as long as they're not over 58 years old. I believe that's what it is. But we will pay you $325 a week as a stipend to put some money into your pocket so we can continue to train you and you get used to getting some money and get used to getting prepared to get a good job opportunity. So that's what True House Under God is going to be doing in conjunction with Bishop Gardner, who has been so gracious to allow us to have our services there. So check us out April 3rd. We'll keep promoting it because I want people to come. I want people to network with each other because I want us to start putting God first and get this country back on track so we can raise our communities and raise our children with some type of godly spirit so they won't keep killing and doing the things that they're doing because they don't have a spiritual base or foundation at all. These are my last words, and I'm out of here. To the United States citizens, we've endured a lot of pain. We've endured a lot of hatred for us by our own people. The government turned on us, and they treated us like they was at war. They treated us like we was the enemy with our own tax dollars. The American people have suffered for going on 3 years. Nothing has went right for us. But everything went right for the powers that be. This government has went rogue. They've lied, they've cheated us, they've stole from us, they've killed us. They have killed us with the inability to say, oh, science. Science has killed hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people. But we won't know that because we're still waiting for the golden goose to lay the golden eggs of the truth about what happened the last 2.5 years. So I'm telling the American people, let us go to the polls. Let us look at what has happened to us. We cannot forget. We cannot forget what has happened to us and our children and our families. So when we go to the polls this time, we can't keep voting the way we've been voting, especially Black people. Man, I'm just so disgusted with us. We've been voting one way for all this time, and we have nothing to show for it. Not a damn thing. Black people don't have nothing. So I'm telling Black folks, let's get our head out the sand. Let us start holding these local politicians accountable. In Chicago, we got to get rid of every politician that went along with this mayor and this governor for what they did with this pandemic. So I'm telling Black people, we can't vote this Democratic ticket no more. We can't run down this road. We've been down this road so long that this road know us and it don't even want to be a road no more. It just uses us. Black people, are you tired? You're tired of the the shenanigans. You're tired of the community being ran down. You're tired of the killings. You're tired of all of that. But if you're tired, I'm tired. So let's take our tired asses to the poll and vote these people out of office who call themselves liberals. And even the conservatives who went along with the liberals, let's vote they ass out of office. And let's give somebody a fresh start so we can get this country back on track and get our families back intact and make sure that marriage is between a man and a woman. And the most important thing to the American people is in God we trust. Let us put God first back in this country and let our churches stand up and be proud and serve the Lord and do what we're supposed to do like Jesus did to save our communities and to save our souls. God bless y'all. Peace. I'll share it around to Facebook. Thank you, YouTube, for having us. And we're going to keep it going. God bless you. And I'll see you guys Sunday on Moments of Truth. Peace.